this is really what happens when you make a lot of money. And then you have multiple generations kind of all working together or not working together if you haven't structured it the right way. So governance, that can be programmed on chain. A lot of people that are the matriarch or patriarch of their family office, they want certain things codified and structured and in place so that people participating with the family's money only get to do so under certain circumstances, right? And you can incentivize or disincentivize certain behaviors in order for participating in the family office. You can also cultivate certain skills and traits and beliefs by the way that you orchestrate this also. So a lot of people will set up a family constitution or a family board, a financial committee, ethics documents, governance documents, all these things in order to have some structure. Very similar to the XRPL or these other networks and how they have a voting mechanism from different validators on the network. So you could apply that same deal here. Now, sometimes in a family office, well, I'll talk about the family board and the financial committee first. So I've talked about this in the past. You really want to do this, especially if you've come into a lot of money, because as family members and friends ask you for money post-price appreciation, you want some system or procedure to be able to vet those deals and see if it's worth doing. And if you don't have this, then there's going to be some animosity when you tell them no. But if you say, hey, would love to invest in it or give you the money, if you put together, your pro forma and the pitch deck and the thesis as to why, you need this capital, we'll put it over here in front of our financial committee. As long as it meets their parameters, we would love to make the investment. And then you have, they can't really be mad at you, especially if they don't put any of that stuff together. And maybe they do put it together, and it's awesome. So all that being said, the financial committee stays within the guidelines of the lanes that you set forth as the matriarch or patriarch. You might say, I'm going to invest in real estate, private equity, and crypto. Like, those are my lanes. I'm going to hire people that are competent in those areas, that have the background and expertise in order to be able to make those investments on my behalf. And I'm going to limit them to $5,000 at a maximum across the board for any investment. I kind of like Kevin O'Leary and the way that he structures his family office and investment thesis. No more than 20% of his total portfolio can be in one asset class, and no more than 5% of his total portfolio can be in one specific investment. You're always going to be taking, you have at least 20 positions if you're doing it that way. And hopefully they're inversely correlated and across multiple sectors in the economy. And that way you're maintaining your wealth over the long term, because it's about wealth preservation on the other side of price appreciation, not wealth generation like a lot of us are looking for now. So all that being said, you set those lanes, whatever those might be for your financial committee. If they're going to make investments outside of those lanes, they will bring that to the family board. Your family board should probably have, somewhere between the lowest amount, 3 people, highest end, probably 9 people. You want it to be an odd number so that when you vote, there's an actual winner and you can make decisions. I most often see families choosing somewhere between 5 and 7 people on their family board. Now, so let's say, what would be outside the parameters? Well, if an investment was over $10 million or $5 million, whatever you said is the threshold, they've got to bring that for vote. They might find a really interesting company in space, which isn't one of your things, okay? And so because it's outside those parameters, they bring it to the family committee in order to vote. Sometimes when people find out that the other person voted for something that they didn't want or they did want, they get a little pissed off. But if you had a zero knowledge proof way to vote, there's no way to know who voted for what, right? And then also, hopefully you guys, have some vacation homes and some nice things, right? And if that's the case and you have, you have 2 kids, they each have 2 kids, by the 3rd or 4th generation, you might have 10, 20 people all using the same different vacation homes and different assets that the family has. Well, if you're all issued a certain number of credits at the beginning of the year, and then you have to basically bid for certain dates on the calendar to be able to use said assets, then there's a mechanism where it's fair, right? Because if you're willing to bid more of your credits than somebody else to use a certain asset on a certain date, then then they weren't willing to bid. So there's some way to be able to resolve those conflicts, which really don't, they exist today in family offices, and oftentimes pulls families apart. So all that being said, I think that the infrastructure itself could all run on blockchain. You may have a privatized LLM, be able to help you and your family make the best decisions when it comes to tax, estate planning, insurance, financial decisions, and investments. That's what we're building also. And this front end, this portal is the first step in that direction. So if you want to be on that ride with us, if you can see the vision, if you're excited about it like I am, we would love to see you guys over there.